Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Silvana Kelly, and I'm the Executive Director at the Breast Cancer Resource Center. And today we have Emma Malina from Rooted Santa Barbara County, and we're going to have our summer treat session. So please join me in welcoming Emma to our session. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Silvana. I'm excited. It's such a gray and gloomy day here today, so it seems a little out of touch with reality to be doing this summer treats class. But I know that there are plenty of hot summer days ahead of us. So I really hope that these very simple recipes will find their way into your kitchens. All right. So hello again. Welcome to our July plant-based nutrition class. I'm Emma Malina. I am a nutrition educator and a food skills instructor, as well as the vice chair of Rooted Santa Barbara County. Today's class is all about really super simple, low sugar summer treats. And this is a very basic class. There is nothing decadent, nothing overly time consuming. It may be too basic for some of you, but I like to just start with the basics and kind of build from there. So I hope it inspires you to get a little creative and have some fun in the kitchen this summer, whether it's just on your own, with your partner, with kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever it is. There's some really fun and very, very simple ideas in here today. As always, we are delighted and honored to be presenting this class alongside our community partners at the Breast Cancer Resource Center. So thank you guys for always being there with us. And as always, before we begin, our very standard pre-class disclaimer. While nutrition is paramount to long-term health, this class is not intended to provide medical advice, guidance, or treatment. If you have questions regarding specific conditions, treatments, or lifestyle changes, those should be discussed directly with your healthcare provider. And we truly believe that working in concert with your healthcare providers is the sure way to positive outcomes and healing. And but please, if you have questions along the way, I encourage you to just ask, raise your hand, interrupt me, totally fine. There's going to be a lot of little videos that I'm showing throughout today's class. So there's plenty of opportunity to interrupt and ask questions along the way. So I want to just start with kind of some basics, because we actually get this question asked a lot of us. Here at Rooted, we use the term whole food plant-based a lot. And that's because one of our ultimate goals is to get as many community members eating as many whole plant foods on a daily basis as we possibly can. And we do this because it is great for long-term health. But that certainly doesn't mean that we can't have delicious treats along the way. There are literally thousands of websites dedicated to vegan and or plant-based desserts. But today I'm going to be focusing on real bare bones, simple treats that anyone can make in just a few minutes with very, very few ingredients. And if you've attended some of my classes before, which I know many of you have, you'll recognize a theme here, because I'm a huge fan of having some key staples prepped ahead of time and always kind of ready, willing, and able to jump into any meal, be it a dessert or a dinner. So whole food plant-based, let's break it down a little bit further. So whole food, not the grocery store, but actual whole foods, is simply the most whole, intact version of the food you can find. Typically, these are foods with little to no packaging and little or no ingredient list. Rice is a whole food, as is a tomato. Organic tofu, which is actually slightly processed and packaged, is in fact considered a whole food. However, a tofu burger would not be considered a whole food because it has multiple ingredients in it, and it has been not minimally processed, but quite substantially processed. Let's see, canned and frozen foods in their pure and unadulterated form are absolutely whole foods, as they retain their nutritional value. Some even believe that frozen foods and canned foods actually might even have more nutritional value than foods got purchased at the grocery store, simply because they were canned and or frozen at their peak, you know, whatever the word I'm looking for, their peak season. But there are, of course, many foods that are presented as whole food, plant-based foods that are, are not. Fruit roll-ups, fruit drinks, even fruit juices, fruits in syrup, vegetable chips. That's one I get asked about a lot. These are no longer considered whole foods because they have been processed, or they are, they've moved beyond their recognizable state, and or they've had all of their water and or fiber taken out of them. And then moving into plant-based, we focused on plant-based foods as those come ready to eat, and they have the greatest overall nutrient package available, meaning outside of individual food sensitivities, they come with the highest nutritional bang for your buck and the lowest nutritional baggage. Simply put, there are very few people questioning whether these food items are good for you or not. It's just kind of understood that these whole foods are good for you. But again, when the whole foods concept isn't in play, it can get kind of confusing. Plant-based is a very catchy term that is being used everywhere these days. From, I don't know, ice cream to shampoo, it seems. Everything says plant-based on it. But just because it's plant-based on a package, that just simply means that there are plants included in it. Usually these are processed plant particles, but not actual whole foods. So again, we try and stick with the whole plant food. So making treats at home with these whole plant foods is really easy. And then a big question we get around treats is sugar. And obviously sugar, particularly in the cancer community and the diabetes community, any community that is, facing any sort of illness, sugar is a really big topic, and it's often kind of a confused topic as well. But I just kind of wanted to highlight the two differences of the types of sugar. So, fresh fruits, yeah, they absolutely have sugar in them, but these are more natural sugars. And a typical berry, let's say, because we're using a lot of berries today, they're maybe 5 to 10% sugar, and then the rest of it is water and fiber and minerals and vitamins. And they are really rich in antioxidants, and they aren't like a sugar bomb to our body. You don't eat it and suddenly want to run. You don't see kids eating raspberries and then running circles around the kitchen, right? It's a little bit more of a slow release sugar. Also, because they have the water content and the fiber content, they help us stay fuller for longer. And their fruits are, and vegetables as well, but we're talking about fruits today. They're more alkaline to our cells. These types of sugars aren't addictive to the brain. And it's also proven that their consumption actually can prevent and improve many health conditions and diseases. Whereas moving on to products with sugar, and I know some of this is really obvious, but I think it just helps to break it down a little bit in its basic form. Products with sugars, which could be anything from, smoothies to fruit juices to donuts, cookies, cakes, all of that. They tend to be at the very minimum 10% sugar. And then the rest of it is flours and fats and sweeteners and additives. And they've had all the water removed if there is a fruit in there. There's little to no fiber. Fiber only exists in the plant kingdom. And when it's a processed plant particle, then there's no fiber. There may be a little bit of, maybe a little roughage in there, but very little actual fiber. So that means that the sugar is broken down really, really quickly, and it gives us these spikes of blood sugar and insulin. That type of sugar is addicted to the brain. It is acidic to our cells. It has that kind of crash and burn energy. And the consumption of sugar has been implicated in the increased risk of a variety of chronic illnesses and diseases, inflammation, weight gain, cognitive decline, and even some cancers. So, all right, we're going to move beyond the super depressing nutrition part of this and into a little bit more fun. But the whole fruit in its original form is always going to be best. And this is one of my favorite examples, and I talk about this a lot with parents of young kids as well. So let's take grapes and raisins. So the little itty bitty box contains about 30 raisins, and it's not likely to really fill you up very much, but it will give you a quick jolt of energy as its sugars have been accelerated through the drying out process. So when the water leaves it, the sugar becomes more available. The grapes, on the other hand, are loaded with water and fiber. So you've got about 30 raisins in that little box, and you have about 30 grapes in the bowl. And just to sort of really highlight this point is that the grapes are, again, loaded with fiber and water, and their natural sugars are going to have a much slower release into the body. And at the end, we're actually going to feel like we ate something. So again, this would be a whole food, a whole plant-based food. Another thing to sort of think about, and I'm guilty of this almost weekly, is smoothies. Now, I love smoothies, and to me, they are a really incredible vehicle for getting food in, especially when, you know, when there's health challenges and we don't have the time, the energy, the taste buds, anything to like really actually eat food. Smoothies are incredible. However, I like to think of smoothies as sort of a vehicle for getting in food that we wouldn't otherwise eat. So it's a great way of getting in your broccoli and your kale and your spinach and your, you know, whatever vegetables a kid doesn't like, and kind of masking them with maybe a little bit of pineapple or mango or banana, a sweet fruit that's going to sort of mask that. But most people I see drinking smoothies, it's like a banana, a cup of pineapple, a cup of berries, a cup of mango, then some sweetened milk, or even sometimes ice cream. And we end up consuming way more food than we actually would have had we sat down and eaten those items in their whole food form. So it actually, and because we're allowing a blender to be the teeth, we're not even alerting our body or our brain to the fact that all of this food is coming into our bodies. So we could literally, and I'm not a calorie counter or anything like that, but you could sit down and have a smoothie and it could be 600, 700, 800 calories of really good food, but we haven't alerted our body to it. And so our body is not going to know when it's full, or we're going to feel full maybe 20 minutes later because it finally hit our stomach and it's expanding and we're like, whoa. But usually when we can engage our saliva and our teeth, our body is much more in tune, and there's that mind-body connection of, okay, I think I've had enough to eat. So just something to keep in mind, and we're going to play around with a smoothie in a little bit. We're gonna move on now. If there are any questions, again, please just interrupt and ask away. So as I said, I love to have a few things prepped and ready and on hand for any time we want to make something. Dates, if you've come to any class, you know I am a huge fan of dates. They are literally one of my favorite things in the world. They are incredibly versatile, and they make everything a little bit sweeter, but they're also a health promoting food, as long as they're eaten in moderation, of course. Dates are, they're really high in fiber. They are loaded with antioxidants. They have actually calcium, magnesium, potassium, and they're, again, when eaten in moderation, a fairly low GI food, low glycemic index. And I remember, I mean, I've heard for years and years and years, like, if you've got any illness, like just stay away from sugar. It's bad for your gut health, but dates are actually known to support gut health. And they're actually anti-parasitic and can help restore intestinal function. So again, once eaten in moderation, but they are little powerhouses. I try and always buy pitted dates, but if you can't find them, it's very easy to open them. But I buy pitted dates actually from Trader Joe's, and I keep one in the cupboard, one container in the cupboard for whatever, and another one in the freezer for yummy snacks. Often after dinner, I will just have one or two frozen pitted dates, and it's a little hard on your teeth for the first few seconds there, but it's like eating like toffee or caramel. I mean, it's just so absolutely delicious. So this is a little, it's date syrup, some people call it, or date caramel. And it's a really simple recipe, and it can be utilized in millions and millions of ways. So I'm just going to play this now, a little video. And all we do is for a decent size, portion, you're going to get maybe 8 to 10 dates. Again, pitted is best, but if you can't find pitted, it's very easy to pit them. A couple notes on dates. If they have white dots on the outside, that's totally normal. They're probably a little bit older, but all those white dots is just sugar crystallizing. It's not mold. If that said, if it has black dots on it or inside it, that is mold. And so they are done and it's time to throw them out. But white on any dates is fine. The plumper you can get them, the better. But oftentimes they are a little bit more shrivelly. This recipe calls for actually soaking them. So it's gonna plump them all back up. So here I've boiled water and then I've actually turned that off. So it's just hot boiling water. And then I'm gonna put the dates in there and they're just gonna sit in there for 15 to 20 minutes just to kind of soften them and rehydrate them a little bit. There they are, all nice and plump. And then all this recipe is those dates, a little bit of lemon juice. I mean, that's literally like a teaspoon, maybe a tablespoon. It really depends on the flavor you like, and 1 cup of water. And if you're going to use this as a hot syrup, immediately use it as a hot syrup, you can make this water hot. And if you're going to make it just to have it in the fridge for later use, just tap water, filtered water, room temperature is fine. But it's just those 3 ingredients, and you're just going to pop them into a food processor or a blender with the water. And this is fresh water, not the water it was soaking in, and that lemon juice. And then you're just going to blend it up. And now, if you want, if you're okay with having little bits in there, a food processor is fine. If you want it completely smooth, then I would suggest doing a high speed blender. But you're going to get this yummy, sort of syrupy. It's absolutely delicious. It's sweet. It's yummy. So here I'm making it a little bit smoother for those that like it, and it's divine. And then what I do as a mother, I put it in a little squeezy bottle, because who doesn't love squeezing sweet stuff onto whatever they're eating? And that's going to last in your fridge for about a week. And you can use it in so many ways. Here I'm just showing you really simply, not that apples need anything, but it's a good way of having your kids eat apples for dessert by putting it in caramel sauce and a little date caramel. But it's we put it on. I make homemade waffles, and I cut them up into little soldiers, we used to call them in England, and dip it into caramel sauce. When I was transitioning my kid away from sort of sweet cereals, I would move over to just a plain oatmeal or even steel cut oats, and I would hand her the squeezy bottle and just let her use as much as she wanted. And at the end of the day, she was eating a big bowl of steel cut oats, and if there was some dates in there, I was cool with that. So that's a really simple and easy way of again, using it as a vehicle to maybe eat some items that are. Oh, we're going to play it again. All right. So my next recipe. Does anybody have any questions on the date syrup or anything? Nope. All right. So one of the next things. This is something I make. I'm going to admit probably more than I should. It's so easy and it's so delicious. This is just a very simple 2-ingredient mango sorbet. It's ready in 5 minutes, or you can make it in advance and store it in the fridge. Anything that is like one of these nice creams or sorbets that I'm going to make today, if you want to make it in advance, then just pop it into sort of a low, I use a glass, Tupperware, and smooth it out, put it in the freezer. And then when you want to use it, just pop it into your refrigerator about 20 to 30 minutes before you're going to want to eat it, because it does get very hard because it's mostly water. So it's like, it's not as sort of creamy as an ice cream would be, and fatty. So it does freeze almost like ice would. But if you take it out 20 minutes before or so, you're good to go. Which just reminded me, I'm going to take mine out. Again, this is just a very, very, very simple mango, 2-ingredient mango sorbet. So food processor is best. Just frozen mango. That's it. And then it's very loud, and I left it open here for you guys to see kind of what it looks like. I wouldn't normally have done that, but it's gonna be very loud, and you're gonna feel like the thing's jumping all over your counter because there's nothing else in there other than big blocks. But you just want to put, all that's in there right now is the mango, and we're just trying to get it to a sort of a crumble, kind of, you know, large breadcrumbs, and just get it to that level. You'll see it's just nice and crumbly. It's already pretty soft with the S blade in there on the food processor. Here you go, close up. And then all you're going to do to this is just add a juice of lemon, a little bit of lemon juice. If it's already tart enough for you and you don't want it to be more tart, you can just add a little bit of water instead. That's absolutely fine as well. And then just blend it. You may have to open it and scrape down the sides once or twice, but generally you're pretty good to go on this. And you'll see, just like dough, it's going to kind of form a bit of a ball, and that's when you know it's ready to go. And that is it. Well, this one I apparently needed a little longer than that, but it's like a mango soft serve almost. It's absolutely delicious, and you can just scoop it straight out of that into a bowl, and there you have 2-ingredient mango sorbet. And again, as I said, if you want to save it for later, you can put it into a glass jar. All right. And this is just mango. You can use any frozen fruit that you want. Any fruit that will freeze well. So pears and apples aren't really good ones for this, but any sort of berries, or even like during the summer season when you get all these fresh stone fruits and you maybe don't have time to eat them all and they're starting to go a little bad on your counter, just chop them up, stick them in the freezer, and save them for a day when you just want peaches or you know, apricots or something like that. They make for really, really, really tasty sorbets as well. All right, moving along. Hopefully that's gonna. Okay, this is a weird one, but I think you guys can handle it. So going back to my earlier comment about smoothies and how they're kind of like, sometimes you might eat, you know, drink 24 ounces of something where, had you really had the opportunity to eat all of those foods, you might not have done so. So this is a great way of taking the ingredients that would have made a large smoothie, but instead we're going to make 10 individual treats, and we're going to hide some powerhouses, some nutritional powerhouses in there. So this is my tropical carrot creamsicle, and what we have in here is we have a little bit of plant milk. I used unsweetened vanilla soy milk in this one, but you can use whatever you like. Almond milk would work, oat milk would work, really any plant milk. And I would recommend going unsweetened. And if you can't find vanilla, then just throw a little bit of vanilla in there if you like that, or keep it plain. It's really up to you. But I like buying the unsweetened, and then you can control the sweetness. So we have the milk, we have a tablespoon of chia seeds, which are really high in protein and fiber, and also omega-3s. Then we have frozen mango, frozen pineapple, just some fresh baby carrots chopped up. These are about a cup of each. And then this is a half of a block of the of high protein tofu, loaded with protein and fiber. And unless you have a very, very specific health issue, you know, organic tofu has been proven again and again and again to be a health promoting food, especially for women who are experiencing breast cancer. So yes.
Hi, Emma.
Yeah.
Is it hard tofu or soft?
So it can really be any one you want. I'm going to show you exactly what this one is. So this is, I buy this a lot, if you can see me up here. This is the high protein, super firm tofu from Trader Joe's. This is what I use when I make my tofu scramble. But you can absolutely put in a softer one because it is just getting blended. But I find this one gives a, you know, it's just what I always have on hand. I rarely have the softer ones on hand. This one also, just a total side note on this, because I know tofu and tofu pressing comes up a lot. When you get this super firm protein, the high protein one, you don't have to drain. What's the word I'm looking for? You don't have to press it. It is a solid block. So that's a big time saver for me. This one, I will chop this and put a little tiny bit of sesame oil and some seaweed flakes and a little bit of salt and just eat it raw like that. It's delicious. For tofu scramble, it's really great. But anyway, so this is about a half a block of this.
Okay. Emma, thank you. Is there a difference in protein content between the soft and the hard?
There is. Yeah, there is. So
Okay.
these ones have, because it's just a denser product.
Okay.
So this in here, this is about 5 servings, it says, and this has 14 grams of protein per serving. So these ones really pack a punch. So for some people, they want more protein. For some people, they want less protein. So if you're looking to bring in some more, whole food, plant-based protein, this is a very, very, very great product to do that with.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. That's
absolutely. Okay, so we have our milk, our chia seeds, our tofu, and then of course we have our friendly little date there at the bottom. 1 date is what I use. If you want it a little bit sweeter, throw in 2 dates. And that is our ingredients. Those are our ingredients. So we're just going to add all of those to a high-speed blender. So we got our mango, our pineapple, our carrots, there's our half a block of tofu, and you'll just see how firm that is. I mean, you really crumble it. Our chia seeds, and then our date there, just chop it a little bit and throw it in. And then we're going to add our plant milk. And then we're just going to blend that up. So you want to definitely blend it as much as you possibly can, so it's as nice and smooth as possible. And then instead of making 1 smoothie, we're going to make 10 ice pops. So you can use anything. You could use an ice cube tray if you wanted. I also have, I'll show you in a second another thing that I have. But so there you go. There's your creamsicle ice pops with tofu and chia seeds and all that crazy stuff in there. These are another thing that we use in our house. If you can see me up here, these are like, I grew up with Otter Pops, and these are silicone, like Otter Pop little containers. My kid loves these, and we also will fill these, and you can put a cute little cap in depending on what the flavor is or whose it is or whatever. Sometimes my daughter will even just fill these with like water and lemon juice and just use them throughout, or even like sparkling water even is fun, and throw in a couple raspberries into it or something like that. It's sort of, you push it up just how you used to with an Otter Pop. So that's another kind of fun, easy one. All right, we're charging through this. So again, like, if you're not sure where to start and this recipe seems gross, or you're not really sure about the ingredients, then go with something more traditional. Do frozen strawberries and cocoa powder and a little bit of almond milk, or pineapple and coconut milk if you want to do like a pina colada type thing, or as I said, sparkling water with some frozen berries. My daughter actually really loves that one. You could do kale, kiwi, avocado, and lime if you want to get really crazy. Or let's say you made some lemonade or some hibiscus tea and you have that and it's looking a little, it's, on its last days, throw it in there with some fresh mint sprigs, and, you have a yummy frozen treat. I'm a big fan of finding ways to utilize things that are about to go bad. Just yesterday, I realized I had an entire crate of strawberries that were like that 5 minutes before they get moldy. when they go kind of shrivelly and they almost look, you know, they're just, I know you all know what I'm talking about. Yesterday, I grabbed them and I, you know, rinsed them and I took the leaves off and I just chopped them into smaller pieces and I stuck them in the freezer. And so those, I've just extended the life of those strawberries for another couple months, and they will go into an ice cream or into a smoothie or, you know, into one of these popsicles. So there's so many great things that we can do with this. Okay, and it always wants to do it twice. Okay, our next one up is nice cream. Now, you guys have maybe heard about nice cream. It's pretty darn popular, and the base is bananas. And I know there are some people out there who really aren't really big fans of bananas. So if bananas aren't your thing, again, this could be done with another frozen fruit or berry. But bananas really do lend themselves to this nice cream because they're inherently creamy when you obliterate them in a blender or a food processor. Today in this recipe, I've just done the absolute basic kind of foundational recipe, which again is just very simple 2 ingredients. But you can elaborate on this in so many ways. So again, you're kind of your bananas that are about to go bad, chop them up. They're very, very sweet at this point. But one note I'll say, so if you're not a huge banana fan, using bananas that are less ripe, so more on the green side, you're going to have less of that banana flavor and less sweetness, of course. But so if, you know, that's one way to sort of counteract if you're not a big banana fan. But the browner they are, the sweeter they'll be, the sweeter your nice cream will be. So this is a great thing to do. So we always have at least 2 to 4 frozen bananas in the freezer. So just chop them up into little coins, pop them in a container, and stick them into the freezer so they're ready to go. So here we have just our frozen bananas. This recipe is 2 frozen bananas chopped up. And again, like the mango sorbet, you're just going to have the bananas in there first, so you can make them into that kind of crumble. And as soon as you have that, you may have to also scrape down the sides on this. But again, it's already quite soft. And because they're a high water fruit and already, you know, a very sort of creamy. So, and then we're adding about 1/4 cup of plant milk. Again, there, I think I used that probably unsweetened soy again, but you can absolutely use oat, almond, soy, hemp, cashew, whatever you want to use, whatever you have. And you're just going to see it's like soft serve already. Putting it in a little bit longer just to get it really chopped up, because you often get like just one or 2 big chunks of banana still in there. So, and again, like flour, like a dough, you'll see it kind of going into a ball like that. So that is your foundational recipe, and you could eat it just like that, and it is absolutely delicious. If you wanted to add flavors to it, there are so many options of what you can do. I have a screen that's going to show you some of those. And if you want to save this for later, again, like with the mango, you can just pop it into, I use a glass container, and just sort of smooth it out and pop it into your fridge. One note I will say just from experience is just try and make sure it's flat and level. Otherwise, you're going to come out and it's going to all be on the sides and on the lid of your container. So just try and make sure it's actually flat in there, which will make it a lot easier for scooping. And again, it's a very high water content fruit. So if you want to make it in advance and use it a little later, just put it into the refrigerator for about 20 minutes beforehand. So that is, that's just your real basic foundation. But again, there are so many flavors. There's so many different flavor combinations. These are just a few that we have played with in our house. So you could do blueberries and mint. You could do, I'm covering my screen now. You could do mint chocolate chip, just put in a little like mint extract and throw in, I mean, the smallest handful of chocolate chips or even a little cocoa powder, but that's going to make it more brown. You can just sprinkle some chocolate chips on the top afterwards. If you want the green color of mint chocolate chip, you can throw a little bit of spinach in there. Just a little bit, just for the color, or even like a little spirulina if you have it, just a tiny bit to get the color going. Peanut butter chocolate chip, throw in a spoon of peanut butter and again some chocolate chips at the end. Strawberry banana, when you were blending up the banana, just simply add in some frozen strawberries there at the exact same time, and then you have strawberry banana. Pina colada, I think I mentioned it. You can do either frozen coconut pieces, or you could even throw in some coconut milk. Instead of the plant milk, you could use some coconut milk. Let's see, what else do I have here? Pistachio. Yeah, you can just blend up some pistachios, or you can get a pistachio, flavor if you want, but the actual, or even like that you can buy pistachio butter. Just a little, like a spoonful of pistachio butter, and then crush up some pistachios and put it over the top. Absolutely delicious. Almond and cinnamon. Again, you can use almond butter and a little bit of cinnamon. Super, super delicious. And that's a great one also for later in the year when it's still warm here, but you're getting into the holiday mode. You can do a sort of a green tea one, just put in some matcha in there. The possibilities are endless. There's so many things you could do. And you can have a lot of fun with it. And again, if you're not a fan of bananas, start with a different frozen fruit like berries, mango, pineapple. Obviously, of all of those types of fruits, bananas have the most neutral flavor. So you're going to be able to do all of these other flavors a lot easier. But just to show you a few additional ideas for sweet treats, there are, so one of our most common things in our freezer, that bowl of grapes I showed you at the beginning, we do frozen grapes. They're like little, I call them little bowls of sorbet. It's the most simple thing. It's absolutely delicious. You just take a bunch of grapes, rinse them, and stick them in the freezer. Those are so delicious. And one of the things, so growing up, I wanted a Snoopy snow cone. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was my absolute wish to have the Snoopy snow cone. And so one of the things I do here for my daughter sometimes, or when she has friends over, is I literally just grind up ice in a high-speed blender, one portion at a time, because that works best with the blender. You don't want to fill it completely with ice, but so just, a cup and a half at a time. And then I'll put on literally like a tablespoon of maple syrup onto it. It is heavenly. You could do the date syrup on there. You could just do date syrup and lemon if you wanted it to be kind of like a frozen lemonade type drink. Really simple and obvious, just fresh berries with a little bit of mint. And if you want it a little sweeter, you can also chop up dates or put a little of that date syrup. Down here at the bottom, this is the same thing we did with the mangoes. This is just with raspberries. Another really weird thing, people think it's really weird until they try it, but one of my absolute favorite dessert treats is frozen raspberries. So just get a bowl, put some frozen raspberries in it, and then I drizzle it with balsamic glaze. It is so freaking delicious if you're into that stuff. If you're not, it's probably really weird and gross. But a tablespoon of this stuff does have about 8 grams of sugar in it, but I use probably a teaspoon at the very, maybe half a teaspoon of it. So it's pretty low sugar. Another thing I sometimes will do, like if I make that mango sorbet, and I do want it a little sweeter, or my daughter wants it a little sweeter, this is date sugar. And all date sugar is dehydrated dates that's then pulverized into a granular form. This is the only product on the market that is actually the fruit. A lot of people think coconut sugar is made from coconuts, but it's actually the sort of the sap from the coconut tree. So it's just like a sugar. Your body responds to it just like sugar. Whereas this does actually, it's again, it's a lower glycemic index type food. Not this brand, any brand, but if it's just the ingredients in here are just organic dried ground dates. That's all that's in here. And so that's like almost like a sprinkle over over a sorbet or something like that. Yes.
Emma, can you buy the date sugar locally, or do you have to order it?
I have seen it locally, not this brand, but I know Bob's Red Mills does a date sugar. I've seen it, I've definitely seen it in a number of grocery stores. I have not seen it in like Trader Joe's or anything like that. But for sure, Whole Foods, Lazy Acres, yep.
I just saw it at Sprouts.
Okay, perfect.
That's great. Great.
And sometimes it even comes in like more like a plastic canister, like how Nooch does, some nutritional yeast does sometimes. But yeah, it's a great note. It does not dissolve. So it's not something that you want to put in like a tea or anything like that, because you'll just have it sitting at the bottom of your cup. But great for sprinkling on something if you just want a little sweet treat. My husband makes crepes oftentimes on the weekends, and I'll put in a little bit of like, unsweetened coconut yogurt inside, and I'll just sprinkle a little date sugar on it. And it's just like, it's just so yummy. So those are some ideas. I'm going to move on to my one last thing, which I'm going to do in person. But if anybody has any other questions before I stop sharing, actually, I'm just going to stop sharing, and I'm going to come back to me. Hi. And I'm going to show you, this is a very, 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 I'm going to actually move my camera down. We're going to get a few more things out, but and I apologize for my kitchen counters. They're really gross, which is why I never show anybody this. But right now we're going to do something really simple. I just turned this down. So this is just a very simple double boiler. And we are going to make magic glaze. What was it called growing up? The crispy chocolate that, you put on an ice cream. And this is so easy to make. And all it is you're just going to use about, I'll turn it around that way so you can see, this is just coconut oil. This is like a super duper major treat. This is not something we do all the time, but it's really easy and super fun and great when you've got kids or a group of people over and everybody just wants a treat. So that's 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. And I'm realizing this is not remotely hot, so probably would help if I actually plugged it in. So that's going to take a little bit longer to heat up, but we're going to get there. So it's 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. And then these are great. They sell these at a lot of local stores. Enjoy Life. These are, they're allergen free. They kind of made them so they can be taken to school. And they're free of like the top 14 allergens. So there's no wheat, no peanuts, no tree nuts, no dairy, no casein, no soy, no egg, no sesame, mustard. Not that you'd ever have that in chocolate, hopefully, but there's no added sulfates. There's no fish or anything like that. But anyway, so they are dairy free. So they're in my world, they're technically a vegan chocolate, which is hard to get in the sort of the milky range. And we're going to use literally maybe 1 teaspoon. I mean, this is such a small amount that we actually need to use for this. And I'm realizing this is not melting as fast as I would hope, but yeah, so just 1 teaspoon. So just to kind of talk about the sugar. So a serving size here is a tablespoon, and that has 7 grams of sugar. So we're using a teaspoon, which is 1/3 of a tablespoon. So we're talking, what is that? Like 2.5. I was never very good at that. About 2.5 grams. And then we're just going to let that melt. Of course, like I said, I bungled my timing on this. I might actually, for the sake of time, I may actually just stick this in my microwave, because that's also a very easy and quick way that you can do this, because that is not going to be hot enough. But do it in maybe 20-second bursts. And then we are going to move over to, so this is again is something that I've slightly prepared earlier, very minimal preparation, but we are going to it's getting there. somebody say something? No? Okay. So we are going to go back to my freezer, and I chopped up a lot of bananas today. This is basically one banana that I cut in half and I stuck popsicle sticks into, and they're completely frozen. I put them in last night. I also have some smaller ones. I also have just some blueberries on sticks. And because they are completely frozen and cold, they are going to react to our chocolate mixture. Okay, so that's, I probably put more oil than I really needed to, but you get the gist. This is something that can just be done so quickly. Okay, and then what we're just going to do is magic shell. That's what it was called. And all we do is we take our frozen banana and there. And all we do is take our mixture and we just pour it over. And because it's frozen, it's going to stick to it and hold. And very quickly, we are going to have chocolate banana pops. And kids love doing this. Adults love doing this. I've actually done this at a dinner party. It's super fun. It's fun, and it gets people in touch with their childhood and enjoying. And you can see we're actually using a really, small amount of the product. And what? Somebody's phone. And there we go. We've got a total magic shell. It's not the prettiest of things, but it is very tasty. And there we go. And it's literally, I don't know if you can, but it's an actual hard magic shell. And again, if you don't want that much banana, then do it on a smaller one. Just dip it in there, get it all. And then you have just, a little coated banana treat. You can stick that back in the freezer if you want to and have it for later. You can do just, if you just want to have a couple on hand of like a little sweet treat with some blueberries, there you go. You've got your chocolate dipped in it. It literally hardens within seconds. It's completely hard and dry on that because they're frozen. So there's your instant magic shell. And I'll bring the camera back up. And those are my absolute go-to quick, kid-friendly, adult-friendly, everybody-friendly sweet treats. And I wonder if here's a nice cream I made yesterday. It has been out of the fridge for a little while, so it should scoop. Test of time. Yeah, so it's literally just, you can just go in just like an ice cream and scoop it out. And it's awesome. It's great. So there's your nice cream. That's also just a plain one. You can make these in smaller portions too. So you could just make this into 3 single portions. And then when you want to serve it up, we're a family of 3. All 3 of us could make our own flavor profile, which is fun. So my husband would absolutely throw in a bunch of chocolate and peanut butter. My daughter would probably do, I don't know, something crazy like a bunch of berries and strawberries and dates and things like that. And I might just keep it simple like this and add some date sugar over the top or something like that. But it's fun and simple and healthier. None of these are healthy. They're just healthier. So that's what I like. It's nice to have a few alternatives, especially around summer when it's hot and you just want you want a treat. Thank you all for joining me today on this rather gloomy Tuesday.
So again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, Emma, and Santa Barbara County. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Lovely to see you all. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you again next month.